Okay, so thank you to give me the possibility to have a small overview of what I'm doing and so to say the last 10 years of my research. It's also a small comprehensive overview on what can be studied in terms of archaeological textiles. And of course, I'm giving here case studies from Austria, and you will see a lot of good old friends, so to say. Just to start with what happened in the last 10 years here. Here you can see just the dots of textiles I studied in Austria. And textile research on textiles from archaeological excavations is carried out in Austria mainly by museums and universities. And the material we analyze is covering a time span from the Neolithic till the early modern times. And the textiles derive from graves, copper mines, salt mines, as well as from prehistoric settlements, medieval castles, whatever we can find. You might follow my work. But overall, now we really get a quite good database for archaeological textiles in Austria through the research projects, but also in cooperation with many institutions, especially the Federal Monuments Office we are working together with, and excavation companies and all of the people that bring out textiles at excavations recently, to also to teach them and to train them not to polish the textiles away, for example, in grave finds. It's a lot of work still to be done to get some awareness of what textile research is and what we can gain for our understanding of the past from it. Yeah, and the broad chronological span you see here from the Neolithic till the early modern is really essential to understand textiles as an important part of material culture of any society. But this is really something that you are really aware of. The archaeological textiles from Austria are really very diverse. Textiles from graves, like we have it here, this is Roman, or here Mitterkirchen. From salt mines, you know my darlings. This here is one of the latest tablet woven bands. It was found by my colleague Hans Reschreiter 2 years ago. And this year he found a new one, and I'm very curious to see it. I just saw some pictures, but it's really still ongoing work, especially in the salt mines, Dürnberg and Hallstatt, where we still are excavating every year and finding wonderful new things. But unfortunately, they are this size and not complete garments as they have in Denmark, for example, but I take whatever I can get. And we also had some interesting things, for example, gold threads and interesting objects like that. This is brand new. I got it last week. I just wanted to share it with you. Here, this is from Ebreichsdorf, and it must have been a textile embroidered or whatever with gold threads really densely, as you see it here. And here you see some of the gold threads in scanning electron microscope. Yeah, and this is really late Bronze Age. And we have in Austria and in Hungary, we have about, I don't know, 50 sites or whatever with such textiles that are somehow embroidered, woven in gold threads. That means really gold textiles, aurate vestes. And this is really exciting. And this is one of the next researches I will do, just to have something that is, so to say, work in progress. My overall methodology how to analyze textiles and textile tools is the standard, as every one of you knows. I mean, we have here the analysis of textile tools, typology, contextual analysis, experimental archaeology, and of course, everything of those with the textile tools is in combination with the wonderful work done by CTR and all of this wonderful also guidelines on how to analyze textile tools. And I really, really highly recommend whoever is working with textile tools, please do it with the standards of CTR, because only this is the possibility that we can get comparable data that we can just put together at the end and make something big out of it. And all of my students and a lot of people working here in Austria with textile tools, they are also so to say compressed to do it in a CTR style. And this is really important, and I really recommend it. Yeah, textile analysis, what shall I tell about that? Weave type, quality, SEM, whatever you need, of course, and all of the natural sciences are applied to textile research, especially for the textiles from the salt mines. We can do a lot of this stuff. Isotopic tracing, we have not been very successful so far, but we are working on it. And for me, because we have just so small, tiny bits of textiles, especially also from the graves, but from the salt mines. For me, the contextual analysis is really the vital thing. The placement patterns in the graves, how to make sense out of all of this stuff, written in pictorial sources in the timelines whenever you have them. And this is really and this is also this interesting thing for me, this combination of different knowledge, not the specialized look at, I'm just analyzing the fibers, but to put everything together. And I think something like that is also what Marie-Louise presented in her last paper, that this wonderful view on a topic from different perspectives, from different disciplines, from different countries. And this is what makes textile research so vital and also so important for our societies today. Yeah, just wanted to point out that, of course, at the National History Museum Vienna, we have some more or less tiny textile projects. One of this is the cost action. It's the embracing head of everything. And here also you can see a wide chronological span from Roman textiles we had in the Dress ID project to textiles from the perspective of creativity in Bronze Age and the saltman Cherabat in Iran. And Marie-Louise showed you the tunic that I published from this side. And here now I want to focus on what kind of information we can get from all of our textile evidence. And some of you might know the one or the other because I published all of them. That means you can find all of this in some of my publications that are spread around everywhere. Okay, here are the main topics that we have. Of course, it's on the development of textile techniques, innovations, traditions within the second and first millennia BC. And of course, always keep in mind what I'm doing is, so to say, Austria and around, which means more or less Central Europe, including also the former Eastern Bloc countries that I count to Central Europe, Slovakia, Czechia, Hungary, Croatia, and so on. And I love this view from this place in Austria in the center of Europe, and to look around and to look how everything evolved and how it is different or alike to the Mediterranean and to the north, to Scandinavia, and what can we learn and how can we make sense out of all of this. And this is my usual, so to say, focus and perspective that I have as an Austrian. I hope you can forgive me if I interfere too much into feelings of what for me is the center of Europe, but I'm sorry. Okay, Matthias. Yes, the development of techniques. You know all of this. I really love this topic, and also all of this technological, social, economic background of textile innovations, because especially the time span where my focus is Stone Age till the so to say the Roman period, and there a lot of things happen, and this is really, really impressive, and also to think on how and why and what happens here. Creativity and design is also one of my, so to say, hard topics, because In former days, people did not think about archaeological textiles in the focus on creativity. And it is a creative process. Everyone who is a practitioner knows that making textiles, designing textiles, working with structures, with colors, with dyes, with different weaving techniques is such a creative process. And it's not only our feeling, it's also the feeling of all people that lived in the past and worked with textiles. Of course, sometimes it's just a duty and sometimes it's just a job, but overall, it's a creative thing. And I think it's very nice to think on textiles as a symbol of human creativity. Yeah, of course, context and function of textiles in prehistory. I really wrote a lot about that. What textiles have been used for, because it's really, textiles are in all of our living worlds and the worlds of the dead, and all of our activities, where we live, where we even about transport and clothing, of course. Textiles are a need for every part of human life, and this since the Stone Age, and this makes it also so valuable. Yeah, resource management, reuse, recycling is also one of the topics. And in recent times, I also try to combine that with knowledge on what do we need today? What are the needs of the today's society? Why are we studying that? Luxury, dress and identity, the social value of clothing and textiles, representation, appearance, all topics that are still today very valid. So now some case studies. Yes, and I will start with the developments. I like this topic, And here I show a graph, and I selected the one that I presented in Copenhagen at one of the Copenhagen NESAT 10 years ago. And I just wanted to show that, of course, I changed this graph through different publications, but still, this was my starting point, because I just wanted to put everything together and to understand not only what is the chaîne opératoire, everyone knows that, the preparation, the spinning, the plying, whatever, but also how to interact in a different way with different raw material. In this case, I just divided it into the sheep and the flax. But also what else is needed? What kinds of tools are needed? What can you do? And also the other resources, what kind of space is needed? The pasture land, the working places, the cultivation area, just a place in a hut where you can put a loom inside a hut and where it can stand and where you have enough light and so on. All of those different things you have to think about, and this was my starting that really opened my eyes on, oh my God, so many different aspects, and I have to study them, and I have to go into analysis of settlements. I have to go into analysis of tools and this, and this is such a, so to say, lifetime job, and job for projects, and job for a lot of different sholas. And yeah, and what I ended up with in the first go was this, and this was my basic theme on yes, for Central Europe, that means Austria and around. How can I understand what happened in the development of textiles? Of course, we all know that at first we had tabbies and simple weaves, and then somehow somewhere twills came in, and somehow tablet woven things came in, and also dyeing, spin pattern, and so on. But it's really when and how and where, and was it just there at once, as we see here in Hallstatt period? No, we always have some, so to say, ancestors that first trials, and this is also this creativity part. Why do things appear, but just single ones for hundreds of years? We just have, for example, I don't know, 1,000 items of tabbies in the Bronze Age, but we have 3 twills. And then after some time in Iron Age, it goes boom, and we have another textile culture. And how is this? Well, how can we understand it? This is really still a lot of discussion. Here are just some facts. In Bronze Age, that means in Central Europe, it's more or less the 2nd millennium BC. We have some first dyes, some first patterns, and so on. I just show here examples. You see here, this is one of the oldest blue dyed textiles that we have in Europe, here from Hallstatt, and this striped textile from Franzhausen. Then we have here a tablet woven, also with a stripe effect, dyed in blue from Hallstatt from this time period. But these are just some glimpses into what can we do with the thing, but not more. And here we also have some spin patterns, and here also this from Hallstatt is also wonderful. I know until today, when Hans Reschreiter found this in the mine, Ulla Mannering and Margareta Kleber visited the Natural History Museum, and Hans came and gave us this textile, and that we can have a look on it, and everyone was quite sure, okay, this is Iron Age. And then he said, no, it's Bronze Age. And then everyone was completely confused. No, cannot be. How can this be Bronze Age? Now we did C14 and whatever. And yes, this is Bronze Age. It's a zigzag twill. It's extremely fine. It has about 26 threads per centimeter, okay? And you see here the date, 1400 to 1200 BC. And now those textiles get more and more and change our view on how the textile culture, for example, in the Bronze Age looks like. And it's really interesting. And then all of those single finds made me thinking about why the hell people are doing this. I mean, I always try to find some theoretical background where I can handle myself around. And in this case, I had a look at the hierarchy of needs by the American psychologist Abraham Maslow. And I know that psychologists today think it's not a pyramid and so on, and but I think all of the aspects are important, because humans have needs, and there are the physiological needs. It's hunger, thirst, and so forth. It's safety needs. It's to feel secure, to feel safe, and also the needs of belongingness and love, the esteem needs, to gain recognition, also the cognitive needs, the need to know, the need to understand, the need to explore, and also the aesthetic needs, the need for symmetry, for order, for beauty, and also for all of the higher needs that lead to something spiritual. And all of those needs are among human beings since the Stone Age. People always had that senses, that needs. And for textiles, it's quite clear, because of course, textiles keep warm. It's the basis, okay? They keep warm, and they keep bad weather away and so on. But if it would be only that, it would be enough, because you can make a very simple textile and can clothe yourself and everything's done. But that the people make an effort in doing more, inventing things, designing, being creative is really to be found in all of these other needs, the aesthetic needs, the cognitive needs, this human need to explore. And this is so manifest in textiles. Just have a look at that. And also that human need for beauty, the human need for the creativity. And whenever we look at our textile evidence, and even on the textile tools and whatever we find, have a look through the lens of the needs. What is the need of people? Okay. Yes, and the funny thing is, if you look at here at the Iron Age, there must have happened, so to say, wonderful things, because after the more or less very simple textile culture in Bronze Age, yeah, after 1000 BC, something happened here. It's the Iron Age, the early Iron Age, where we can recognize the fully developed textile art. We have different colors, we have patterns, we have qualities. And this is not only in princely graves like Hochdorf, but also in the Saltman Hallstatt. I mean, you know, my, so to say, darlings, my textile darlings, that I'm always showing that. I mean, the early striped fabrics, like we have it in Franzhausen, they highlight the more or less monochrome textile world of the Bronze Age. But from 800 BC onwards, the textiles in Central Europe get more and more decorations. And it's really a flourishing creativity, especially between 800 and 400 BC, to play around, to play with the possibilities of color, of twill weaving. Yeah, in amazing qualities. We sometimes have until 40 threads per centimeter. That's really, really high quality. And it's also, why is this? I mean, there was really a technological, social, and economic background in the society in Central Europe, in the Hallstatt culture, that all of this could flourish. And then the interesting thing is that then it gets easier again, simpler here, Latin period. This is more or less the Celts here. Maybe I have highlighted, no, I've highlighted it here, here. This is the zone of the Celts in Central Europe. And this is also the base land of the Celts. That means Austria and southern Germany and around. This is really where the Celts have been. And the textiles of the Celts look like that in comparison with the Hallstatt period. And this is quite amazing, because we have a lot of written sources that are quite, so to say, fond of the Celtic textiles, how wonderful they look like. And I think if the Celts would have looked at the Hallstatt period textiles, they would have Baroque feelings, so to say. Yeah. But this is just one aspect of my work, and I just want to say some words on creativity, because this is here the thing I'm talking about. Because what you can be quite creative even if you make really simple things. I mean, you can make a textile rough or soft. You can make it thick or thin. You can make it warming, or you can make it that you can even look through, like this textile here. And it's just about how you prepare your raw material, what you do while spinning, how much threads you put on your loom, and how thick you are spinning, and so on. And you can influence in all ways. And this is really this creative aspect, but I really admire prehistoric people so much for, that they explored their raw material in different ways. And also, if you look at different weaving methods that you can apply here, different kinds of twill weaving. Twill weaving, I showed you the very early one from 1500 BC from Hallstatt, and then those here are Hallstatt period Iron Age samples from Hallstatt. But also we have some applied decoration, like here from the Irgenhausen textile here, the reconstruction, it's embroidered. We think so. And this is another step forward, because for embroidery, you can have a really very free design process. But this is also one of the unique things. We don't have a lot of embroidered textiles. We have, I think, for the whole prehistory in Central Europe, we have 10. It's not many. And I don't know why they didn't go this step forward. I don't know, because it allows so fantastic things and they didn't do it. Never mind. But the interesting thing is that we also have the textile culture, so to say, in other materials, like here the figurines, and they are from the same period, like the Irgenhausen textile. I go back here. Here you see the pattern, and then you see here, it's really the same basic principle on there. And I was thinking about that. Usually when archaeologists are talking about visual coding of a person, for example, they just look on the jewelry people have. And then I thought, no, here you see the textile things, and they are really have the same visual representative value as the jewelry. And so I thought on the theoretical basis of Peter Wells, who analyzed the visual qualities of objects based on studies of neuroscientists, social scientists, anthropologists, and art historians. And he says what happens if you look at the person of an object. Usually the eyes scan the surface, looking for edges and points that attract attention, and more time and attention, of course, is given to complex objects with highly decorated surfaces. That means that surfaces, edges, texture, color, decoration, glitter are important in perception. And I think, of course, we can also serve this with textiles. And I was thinking about if this complexity, visual complexity, can also be reached in Bronze Age. And I think yes, because archaeologists usually think, okay, yes, this person has a lot of funny bling bling here around the neck and on the waist. And usually this here is the focus. But if you combine this with the Klitschewatsch figure and then you put the Irgenhausen design on it, then you see that the focus is not only here, but also pending up and down. And the textile is an integrated part of the visual experience of the people and not only the bling bling around. Yeah, I always have to tell archaeologists that textiles are important. Yeah, dress side identity, of course. I mean, the bling bling I just described here, the metal elements, we find metal threads worked into, in this case, gold worked into textiles, and also metal elements attached to textiles we have. And what we also have is really luxurious goods, like imported insect dyes that are not really growing there where we find the textiles. Here is one of the examples from Hallstatt, and this must be some kind of trade and a big value to use it. And we also have to think about who is allowed to use it or who not. And then I'm always thinking on how can we define luxurious items, textiles, for example, in Iron Age. Is it only the textiles with gold and precious imported dye stuffs, or are we also allowed to see luxurious things as well in fine qualities or in complicated patterns which echo contemporary decorations on pottery, which are also thought to be luxurious because they have complicated patterns. And you see sometimes there's a one-to-one relationship between the design principles. Yes, in later periods, everything is clear. Romans, they also had textiles with gold and with silk, and sometimes with, of course, purple dye, and even in the Roman provinces here in Central Europe. And John Peter Wald, he really made this concept of Roman luxurious textiles that have all of these components. Yeah, and then later we know, and there will be some talk also from your side about ecclesiastical garments, liturgical garments. And here is a find from a grave where we also see here the grave with the gold threads. It was a castle a priest was buried in. But also we can find this as archaeological object, not only as a preserved object in a collection. What is always very important for me is the aspect of the function of things. What can we learn? And you also know this. Of course, fabrics had a lot of different functions. They served as grave goods, they served as coverings, they had a technical function, for example, linings of cupboards or whatever. And they also were used as wall hangings and mattresses and whatever. And here I just put together things where I really have an archaeological evidence. In Central Europe, we are really very, very poor. And I really mean that when we are thinking on garments, because what do we have? We don't have complete garments. We just have sleeves, parts of sleeves. And even for them, I'm really, really happy. But then sometimes you have very funny things. For example, how can I say if a textile from the salt mine here, which is not on a body, that it was at all used as a garment? This I can say when I find body lice. I love them. Pediculus humanus corporis. The body louse is quite ugly beast, but for me it's really helpful, because if I find such a body louse, and we have some of them in the textiles from Hallstatt, then I know that this was formerly used as a garment. And even body lice that we find in graves are quite exciting, because I have here one here, and this is the grave of a child from Göttweig. It's Roman period, and we found on this on the inside of the bracelet, I found a textile, and on this textile, I found a body louse. And so I know that this textile might be a tunica manicata, was not produced as a burial garment, but it was also used as a garment in daily life. And this tells me a lot. And I love it. I love it. Yeah, and then, we have this topic of that textiles were used as coverings and wrappings in graves, that, but also some functional things like, of course, when you have the scale armor, a Roman scale armor, then you need something to have under it, because you don't wear the bloody scale armor on your bare skin because it hurts. And we have here the linings of the scale armors. We have here 3 finds in Austria. And interestingly, the linings of the scale armor are all different. Here we have some tabby, ribbed tabby. Here is a twill. And the next one is basket weave. Here, this is Baumgarten an der March here. And also how they fitted it and how they made all of this. It's just small, tiny, nice, interesting aspects. Yes, and the salt mine Hallstatt, it's following me everywhere I am. And we found some fragments of bags where the salt was kept in and brought out of the mine. And also things like that are interesting, because they tell us a lot of how textiles have been important for the whole economy. Yes, and textiles as recycling material. This is really vital today. Textiles have been used and reused and recycled, because all that textile making is really intensive and time consuming. And so people did and made the best out of it. And especially for the salt mines, not only Hallstatt and Dürnberg, also in Cherry-Bad, I find the same pattern. We have massive recycling of things, and I really love it. Here, for example, a broken tool handle and the wonderful textiles was wrapped around it, and this was really not the primary use. Yes, and we also find those lovely things of mending, of patching, of stitching things together to keep textiles, to get used of them. Here, this mended part, and this here, it was really heavily stitched. The primary use was as a garment. Here we have the primary seam, and you see it's a spin pattern, very fine textile, and then it was folded and put together, and something was made out of it. And we also know what it was, a so-called hand leather. Here you see the thumb would be here, and this was used to handle ropes and to handle heavy tools in the salt mine. This is really a very creative way how to use the the resources of our planet Earth. And this is also something that I want to give people when I'm doing dissemination, that of course the textile story along the millennia is interesting, but it relates to the modern world. And then I can tell some funny stories on recycling in the of textiles in the saltment, and I can also get some hint on, okay, and how do we use textiles today? Are we aware of that resources are valuable? And yeah, it was just here a short overview on the results that we can achieve with research on archaeological textiles, and some small stories, and also what we can have as a further value for our modern society out of it. Thank you.